Jai Jai Shri Harivansh. Welcome to
Hey,
Shri Harivansh Kripa, the grace of Shri Hit Harivansh Mahaprabhuji. So we're here together again for another online satsang, and today we're going to discuss one work of Hit Ananya Aliji Maharaj called Maina Mantra Mohini Lila. So it's continuing with the theme of birds, which we picked up from Shri Hidrudas Ji's Shringar Sabha Mandal. So as always, I'm just going to start with a quick Mangalacharan and a auspicious invocation for getting the mercy of Shri Hit Sakhi, Shri Hit Harivansh Mahaprabhuji, and Shri Shama Sham. श्री प्रेमी रसिक अनन्यनपति चिंतामणि ईशन के ईश महाराजा छत्रपति महामधुर प्रेमानंद रस स्वादी रसीलो श्री तारा सुत श्री रुक्मणीपति सकल अवतारन को अवतारी महामंगल परमानंद निधि श्री हरिवंश चंद्र निर्मल अकलंक अखंड नित्य मंजुल अनूप अद्भुत अलौकिक परम रसीलो हसीलो सर्वोपरि विराजमान श्री हरिवंशी श्रीवंशी सखी सुखदाई मन बाई परम रसीलो हसीलो श्री प्यारी की अति प्यारी छिन एक हो तन न्यारी छिन एक हो तन न्यारी पहिरे कल जूमक सारी पहिरे कल जूमक सारी जाके पद पंकज बंदत कुंज बिहारी जाके पद पंकज बंदत कुंज बिहारी ऐसे श्री व्यासनंदनो जयति ऐसे श्री व्यासनंदनो जयति ऐसे श्री व्यासनंदनो जयति श्री वृंदावन चंद्र निकुंज विलासी परम स्वादी परम रसीले नित्य किशोर अलकल रे लरबाबरे छैल छबीले श्री सुरतानंद श्री रसिकानंद रूप नवीले रंगीले चिकनय मन मोहने ऐसे श्री राधा वल्लभो जयति ऐसे श्री राधा वल्लभो जयति ऐसे श्री राधा वल्लभो जयति. Okay, so we had started from this is all stemming from a few verses from Sri Hridodasi Maharaj's Shringar Sabha Mandal, where he's describing the scene, the Lila Bhumi, the land of Shishama Sham's divine plays, their divine playground. So there he described Sri Yamanaji, and he explained how this Sri Yamanaji is surrounding Sri Vrindavan Dham like a and protecting it, like embracing the whole of Sri Vrindavan Dham. And it's the blue waters of Sri Yamanaji are like are actually the flow of Shama Sham's Prem itself. So Shama Sham's Prem, Radha Krishna's Prem, which is within their hearts, it has flown out and it has started to flow in the form of Shri Yamunaji. And then naturally, anyone making contact with Shri Yamunaji, they will also become unmat or intoxicated with prem. So he describes how the birds fuli rahe fuli ke kamala suranga anek. But first he describes how the flowers, the kamal, the lotuses are becoming so open and blossomed and bloomed. But fuli has two meanings. It means also to flower, but also means to be full of joy and anand, and therefore expand your ananda. You know, you're so thrilled that you're excited and moving around with so much joy. And then he says, Hansa Hansini Firata Bicha Niratata Keki Keka. But within these beautiful kamal, these lotus flowers, that the swan couple and the peacock couple, the peahen, the peacock, they're also dancing around and playing around. So this is how we got to discussing the Lila of the birds. Now this particular Lila here is very special. I remember when I first came across it some years ago, I couldn't understand what was going on. I just had some idea that there was some special connection with birds here, but I didn't understand what was going on. So Maina Mantra Mohini Lila, it means, to translate it loosely, it means that the bird that enchants through mantra. So the bird that mesmerizes or enchants someone through the power of mantra. This is that Lila. So this Lila hit Ananya Aliji Maharaj. He had a vision in the early morning of this Leela, and then he wrote it down. And he actually wrote down many such visions or dreams even. He wrote a complete diary of, I think, about 50 dreams or so. And many of the dreams were, and the visions, they were confirmed as true, because in one of them, he explains how he was trying to memorize the verses of Hitcharasi by Shri Harivansh Mahaprabhuji, and also some shlokas from his Radha Sudhanidhi. And he said, I could never remember them. I could never memorize those verses, those shlokas, until in a dream, a Sakhi came, or a dream or a vision. Because when it comes to saints who are past the stage of Rajogun, the mode of passion, their dreams and their waking state becomes one. So they don't experience dreams as we do, which are born of passion, the mode of passion. So he actually had an instance where one Sakhi came in a dream, or a vision, you can say, and she helped him memorize the shlokas. And then he said, from that day I was able to remember all the shlokas from Hitcharasi and Radha Sudhanidhi. So it's very extraordinary personality having these experiences. Okay, so I'll recite some of the verses and just explain generally. So in this Leela, he's saying, with the power of Shri Harivansh Mahaprabhuji, from his lotus feet, I was able to see this vision, and I was also able to then speak it. And he says, whatever I can remember from this experience, I am writing as much as I can from memory, from this experience. And he's saying that in the vision I saw Seva Kunj, and when I saw Seva Kunj, it was looking extraordinarily beautiful. And then I also saw that Ranga Ranga Mani Kanakaso Kachyo Mahavirama, that it's not appearing as it appears in this world to us with our mundane eyes, but Sivakunj was completely studded with various colors of gemstones, and they were all shining very brightly. Then he says, Aganita Mandira Jagamage Tehi Mandir Ke Mahi Tinki Shobha Jalakakala Kehta Banata Kachunahi. And there were so many mandirs or Nikunj mandirs there, and I can't tell you how many there were. They were uncountable, and they were also very much effulgent and shining very brightly. जमुना सेवा कुंज के बहत निकट चाहोर तिन में रंग रंग कमल कल शोभित नाही थोर. And then Shri Yamuna ji was also flowing by Seva Kunj. And I also cannot describe the beauty of the different lotus flowers there and how full it was, so abundant with beautiful lotuses. रंग रंग वर रत्न सो खचे सदो कूल जलमल जलमल होत मृदु रव शशि गण नहीं तूल. And the banks of Shri Yamuna the two banks, the shores, they were also lined with many different types of money, meaning gemstones and jewels. Even Shri Harivansh Mahaprabhuji in his Yamanashtak explains that Vichitra Ratna Bad Atat, that the tat, the banks of Yamunaji are embedded all along with various types of. He says he uses the word vichitra, extraordinary. So when he gives the a description of the gemstones, we shouldn't think, oh, it's like the gemstones which we experience in this world, because just because we've seen some gemstones of this world doesn't mean we've seen all types. So he's saying like this also, and that the luster coming from these gemstones, even a whole troop of stars, of suns, Ravi or Shashi, the moons, they couldn't compare. शोभा रचना कहाँ कहो मोह पे कहत बनेन सो अनूप जल कानि छवि जानत मो मन नैन. He says it was so wonderful that what can I speak of this? He says the only two people that know are my mind and my eyes. He says only my mind and my eyes know how beautiful it was. No, I can't actually write how beautiful it was. Janat mo man only my mind and my eyes. Tab ye supno bayo kal गई अर्ध जब रैन देखो सेवा कुंज में मंजुल अद्भुत ऐन एकली सपने में तहाँ थारी मंदिर माही चौंदी कौंदी के तेज सो शोभा दी सतनाही. So he's saying how this vision came in the middle of the night to him, and he found himself to be alone. So in this vision he's having, where Seva Kunj is and Shri Yamuna is flowing and everything's so bright and full of luster, he says, I found myself alone in this mandir, in this palace, and there was so much effulgence coming from this whole scene that I couldn't see the beauty properly. When something was so bright, you cannot look at it for so long, and you cannot see what is the source of this great light. So he couldn't see the shobha, the beauty too well. देखत फिर तेहि सदन में पायो नाही और तेहि मंदिर में जलमले और ऐन नहीं थोर एक एक ते सरस कल जलमल चौक विशाल शोभा रचना नवल नव चित्र विचित्र रसाल. And as I was trying to walk around and find and explore the place, I couldn't find another soul. I couldn't find anyone else there. It was just still me. And I could notice that there were very large pathways, like roads or pathways to walk, and they were also very, very bright. And the whole scene was so picturesque that and it was appearing ever fresh and ever new, and it was full of rasal. Then he says, Chondi kondi ke jal mein arje chak chapalaye, jo ke tyo dar se nahi darsan ko akulai. So then he explains how again that this bright light, this luster, this effulgence just kept coming in front of his eyes. It was like a net. He says it was a jal. It was like a net, and but his eyes were becoming more and more thirsty to see. The more and more it was blocking him, they were becoming more and more thirsty to see. That I wanted to see what does it really look like. I want to see what is the direct the thing. Where am I and what's going on. Then this is where a great wonder happens. So he doesn't know where he is. He's looking around. He's trying to see what is this place. He can make out something. And then he says, at that time, Itne mein ek sehj hi mere kartal mahi. Itne mein ek sehj hi mere kartal mahi. Maina बैठी आए के ताकि उपमा नाही. Maina बैठी आई के ताकि उपमा नाही. He says then all of a sudden, and so in such a carefree manner, a Maina bird comes and lands on the palm of his hand. So the Maina Pakshi, the Maina bird, comes and lands on the palm of his hand. And it sits on his hand, and he says, I have no comparison to give on how beautiful this Maina bird was. And he'll describe why as well. So he says, Piri nirmala mukrasi tinki bani anupa tinke tan me apano dekhat ho kal roop tinke tan me apano dekhat ho kal roop. So this Maina bird, he said it was the color of pure golden, pure yellow golden. But not only that, something very special within this Maina Pakshi, in this bird, was that even though it was pure golden or pure yellowish golden in color, it was also like a mirror. Its whole form was like a mirror. And so when I saw this bird, this Maina bird, I could also see my own reflection within the bird as well. So he's explaining I could see the own
like a golden mirror.
yeah, like some sort of golden mirror, you could say, maybe like this. But even with the golden mirror, yeah, I don't know. We have to see how. Yeah. Have to meditate on this. But yeah, like maybe like some sort of gold, like some golden mirror type, some explanation like this. So he says, "Maina aru apurupako देखो अचरज मान चकित थकत रही दर्श के कहत न बने सुबान." And he says that this Maina bird's voice is completely anup, completely unparalleled, such sweetness. And constantly I was drawn into the beauty of this bird, and my mind became amazed, and my eyes, like, I always became like weary because there was just so much going on. The amazement made me completely exhausted. Chakit, thakit. And I couldn't speak anything, and I couldn't describe it. Then after gaining some strength, the Maina Pakshi, the Maina bird, was still within his hand, within his palm, and then he started walking around around the mandirs, the palaces of the place. Rahi bhuli shobha nirakhi moko sudika chunahi. कितते आई कौन हो कौन ठौरिए आए कहाँ जाओ करनो कहाँ कछु नहीं जानी जाए. So this whole scene and the Maina bird had completely bewildered his mind, that he said I had no sense. I didn't know kitte I, where I had come, who I am anymore. Gone ho, I didn't who am I anymore? And gone thori I, and what purpose? So what for what purpose have I come? Who am I? And where have I come? So he was so awestruck by the whole scene that he forgot everything about himself. But then, when one forgets everything, especially someone who is full of Sakhi Bhav, like Shri Hit Ananya Aliji Maharaj, then Priyalal are sure to come on the scene to remind him. देखो तो तारे तहाँ श्री राधा वल्लभ लाल बट बतात हित सखी सो बैना मधुर रसाल. He said, but then all of a sudden, it's as though the lights disappeared, all the luster disappeared, and then he saw our dearmost Shri Radha Vallabhlal sitting there, both Shama Sham together, and wherever Shama Shama, who has to be beside them?
It's Saki.
Yes, so he says, but batat hit sakhi so bena madhura rasal. That Radha Vallabh Lal were there, Shama Sham, both of them, and Hit Sakhi's there with them, and they're having a very fun and joyous conversation with each other. And the sound also is Madhura Rasal, full of ras, full of sweetness. चौंदी कौंदी आगे कछु रूप सुदीसत नाही देखन को दृग तर फरे बरी चाह मन माही. And then the effulgence was kept coming and going, and I wanted to see them so desperately, and I was moving more and more closer to them. And then all of a sudden, when I'm trying to go near them, Priyaji calls out, Ananya Ali moko kahi अलकलरी ने तेरी लीनी निकट बुलाए के मैना की छवि हेरी. So Priyaji, she called him and said, Ananya Ali, you come near me, you come closer, because Ananya Aliji is very dear Sakhi of Shri Priyaji, of Shri Radha. There's so many Leelas they also have together, which he describes his own experiences with Shri Radha in other Leelas, and this is one of them. And then she called me near, and she very curiously is looking at the bird in the palm of Ananya Ali, because we know how Priyaji is very curious about sweet and cute things, just as when we described previously in the Rajbhog Leela, even during eating, if the birds are coming near, she's trying to catch them. So she's very fascinated with this bird. So Ananya Ali tuv haat mein maina kal chapalaye maha manohar mohini navala vimal sukhdaye. So she says, oh Ananya Ali, this maina, this bird in your hand, is so beautiful and is so chapal, so restless. So she's not moving, the bird's not moving from the hand, from the palm, but still moving side to side, looking around everywhere. And Maha Manohara Mohini Navala Vimala Sukhadai. And it's giving me so much pure, forever fresh, ever new joy just seeing this bird in your palm. And it is completely Maha Manohar Mohini. So this is completely, extremely, greatly enchanting and Mohini. So here we know that the bird is now female. So she says Mohini. This bird is like an enchantress. And then she says, Kabahu na hum dekhi suni aisi maina peetar ya ki upma ko kahe mo chavilini jeet. So Priyaji is very sweet. She even says that I've never seen such a beautiful bird as this. I've never seen such a beautiful yellow Maina bird. So much so, but I think this bird is even more beautiful than I am. So she gives this praise to the bird. Imagine how happy this bird is now. That even Priyaji, the most beautiful in the whole of existence and beyond, is even saying, Mo chavilini jeet, that this bird has even victory over and defeats the beauty that I have. So this bird is so beautiful and sweet. And this is Priyaji's udarta. This is her generosity as well, a sign of her grace, her karuna, her kindness. But she's praising this bird so much in comparison to even herself. Then she says, yeah. कौन सुविद्या गुणन में मैना अधिक प्रवीण जानत विद्या गुण सवे तिन में एक नवीन मोह मैना को लीजिए अपने करतल माही भृंग विहंग कुरंग कल पिय को करे न चाही. So they all now they're thinking, Priyaji and Ananya Aliji, they're having a discussion and they're trying to figure out what special quality or what special skills does this bird have. Because in the Lila, everyone, including the Sakhis, of course, Shama Sham, the plants, the trees, the birds, everyone, they're full of all qualities and all skills, all attributes. But they all have something very special that they're very, very especially skilled in, or they especially like to do. And so they're trying to figure out what is it that this bird is especially talented in. And so Priyaji Ananya Aliji is offering the bird and saying, "Oh, you take this bird, and you see for yourself what is this? What is the special talent within this bird? What does she possess that will be very pleasing to you?" And so Priyaji is also, and then there's a little bit of an indication where they figure out how somehow by their just being completely connected with each other, somehow they can figure out this bird has the power to make Krishna, to make Lalji, to make Piya, the beloved, dance in many different ways. And it says, Bringa vihanga kuranga kala, Piya ko kare na chahi. What we can make him dance like a black bee, a bird, or a deer, or in many different ways. We can make him imitate the behavior of many different animals. So then, when Priyaji, when she hears about this, Al-Kalri ne hasili, Maina karatal mahi, Chumbat mukh hi lavhi, Anand urna samahi, Chumbat mukh hi lavhi, Anand urna samahi. This is very especially sweet, how Priyaji is giving so much bliss and grace to this bird. So, smiling very sweetly, she takes the bird into her palm, and she brings the bird close, and Chumbat mukhi alavahi, she gives a kiss to the bird. So she kisses the bird, and then she puts the bird to her heart, gives it an embrace. Chumbat mukhi alavahi, anand uranasamahi. And the bliss that is both within Shipriyaji and within the bird, it's like a pot, and it just completely overflows, or it's like an ocean breaking its shore and flowing over. Maina bhaina sham so kehat kahavat rang, sukh mein sukh upajavhi, anand uttat tarang. तब मैना ने शाम सो कही सुनो नवरंग, कहो सो मैना लाडले, मैना कयो umang. So then they're in so much haste to see what can this Maina bird do, you know? And so immediately the Maina bird also, after receiving so much love from Priyaji and getting her kiss and getting her embrace, and she put the bird literally on her heart so much. And imagine the center, of her prem and her anand. Well, there's no center in the sense because she's complete and every limb is as perfect and capable as all. But even generally with this gesture of placing in the heart, so this bird also became very enthusiastic that, oh, I should give something back. She's given something so wonderful to me. So this bird immediately thinks, okay, I will also show what is my talent. So this bird straight away, कहो सो मैना लाडले मैना कयो मंग श्याम श्याम मैना बे रत सुरा दे नाम देखत अचरज मान ही छैल छबीली बाम. So then this bird says to Shri Shyam Sundar that you should also become a Maina bird like me. Just like I am, you should also become a Maina bird. And at that very moment, not just with his human-like form, but Shyam Sundar became a blue Maina bird. So he manifested the Sarup of a blue Maina bird. And at that time, he then starts singing Ratata Surade Naam. So he starts singing sweetly, Shirada, 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 singing her Naam. And seeing this, because even though Kishoriji was able to understand what is the power, what is the skill of this bird, she didn't expect it to be so wonderful. So even she was astonished that this is how beautiful, and this is what's happened. Because one of the most important ingredients of ras is Chamatkirti, which is a wonder and amazement. So she even experienced this. चिते चिते मम और प्रिया हसत लसत लड़काई हसन लसन छवि चंद्रिका फैलत कल जलकाई वंशी के करतलन में करतल कल पटकंत बिच बिच मोतन हसी चिते हित सखी पर लटकंत. That Kishoriji, seeing this great wonder that my beloved is now taken up the form of a blue, beautiful Maina bird, Ananya Aliji says that she was looking at me and just in amazement and also laughing in so much hysteria that even my Shyam Sundar has become a beautiful bird. And then, because Vanshi Sakhi, Hit Hari Vansh Sakhi, is so dear to her, she's like almost like giving like a high five, like, I can't believe this, like, when so much amazement, so much laughter, that they just like slapping the hand, and she's slapping her back, and also jumping on her. Kishoriji is so excited and completely riveted by this scene that she's hanging off Hitsaki and jumping on her, like, I can't believe that this is what's going on. Such a scene. And moso puni hasi ke kayo जो के त्यों क्यों होए जो तुम प्रिय कहोगी मैं ना करे जो सोए. And then she's asking Ananya Aliji, how has this happened, that Shyam Sundar has become just like this? How has he become like this? And then Ananya Aliji says, I think whatever you ask this bird to do, she'll get it done for you. So I think we should just continue. So poor Shyam Sundar, he's been made to be like an experiment, but I'm sure, but an experiment that he also enjoys. प्यारी के गुण गण न छवि गावत मैना श्याम सुन सुन सरसत लाडली उपजत नव नव काम. And so Shyam Sundar, as the Maina bird, starts singing the beauty of Shri Ladliji. So only the form has changed, but the bhav is still there. So Sham Sundar is singing in such a way that in Kishoriji's heart, Nava Nava Kam becomes Upjat. So many desires for Prem um, arise within the heart. Just hearing the bird singing so sweetly, the Sham bird. तब बोली मैना मधुर उठी हो सुंदर श्याम तेहि चिन जो के त्यो भयो अलकल रो सुखदाम. And then again, it's like Sham Sundar is in a trance of being a bird. Then this other Maina bird, the yellow one which looks like a mirror, the mirror yellow bird, Maina bird, then says, now get up. She gives the order to the blue Sham Sundar bird, and all of a sudden, very, very much alert again, this bird, the blue bird. And so, seeing this actually, Hitsaki herself also becomes so astonished that just look at the how powerfully this yellow bird is commanding Shamsundar, and she even starts pulling at Ananya Aliji, Ananya Ali Saki, like actually pulling her, saying like, where did you find this? Like it's like saying, where did you find this bird? You know, like even Hitsaki is astonished, let alone Priyaji. But even Hitsaki is astonished at what's going on. Gun vidya ki sagari moko de jakajor. And then this Maina bird says, now you should become a dark blue peacock. So then she tells Shamsundar to become a dark blue peacock, and then he also becomes this. Astonishingly, he also takes up this form again. Priya aage nachan lagyo, anand bharyo na thor, nirta kala vistarahi, aur naveen, hav bhav darsavahi, manjal mor praveen. And so then this Moor, peacocks are very well known to be very expert dancers. If anyone's seen peacocks in real life or video, you'll see they're very expert at dancing. I've also seen many also in Vrindavan, and they'll start spontaneously dancing very beautifully. And so Sham Sundar, as the blue peacock, he's also dancing with newer and newer ways of expression, and he expresses many hav and bhav. So bhav is the inner unexpressed feeling which one has within the heart, and when this feeling within the heart, bhav, which is unexpressed first of all, when it takes on a slight gesture or a slight expression, it can be the slight movement of the neck, or the eyes changing, or eye movements, or so many different things. When they manifest just slightly, this is called hav. This is the term you see in the Vani. And then when it becomes greatly manifest, this is called hela. So these are some terms which which we can discuss some other time. Different types of bhavs are being manifest, different emotions, different gestures, and so on. And Sham Sundar is dancing very beautifully in this way, with these things in mind, which are occurring naturally. And then the bird wants to keep showing off her talent. So then she says, Puni puni maina kehi tab, kehi ye pik navarang, kokila tu ab avare, gave ke liyanang. But oh, now you blue peacock, you should now become a kokala bird. So a kokala bird is also known as a koil. It's like a cuckoo. It's a type of cuckoo bird which sings very sweetly. And also many times it describes that Shama Sham also sing beautifully like the kokila bird. Many times it's described they're such so sweet. And so this Maina Pakshi says, but you won't just sing any song. You will sing Gave Kelia Nang. You will sing the divine intimate pastimes, the divine love games, the amorous love plays of what you experience with Shri Priyaji. So already the topic and the bhav is so high, but then being sung through the voice of a kokala bird, imagine how sweet this is. ऐसे कही जब लाल ने बयो कोकिला श्याम मधुर मधुर कल बोल ही कहत कहानी काम सुनी सुनी श्यामा हित सखी रही चकत सी भूल बरो अचंबो मान ही उमरत अंग अंग फूल. And so this took place, and then Sham Sundar, as now the blue kokila bird, he's singing these stories of and these leelas, kahani kam of Shri Priya and Lal of the Nukunj Leela. And hearing this, both Shama, which is Shri Radha, and Hitsaki, they became more and more astonished hearing this, how expert he's expressing all the different love plays and how sweetly with a sweet voice as well. And the Ananda is completely anga anga full, but the Ananda within Shamaju and Hitsaki is completely going through all of their limbs, just flowing, flowing, flowing like a river of bliss. Then the Pakshi, the bird, asks Sham Sundar also to become a Kir, which is a parrot. And so again, Sham Sundar becomes a blue parrot this time and sings the glories of Shipriyaji. And this time, actually, he couldn't resist coming closer to her. So, ऐसे शुक शुक कहत ही बयो कीर चपलाई गावत रस जस बाल के बैठ्यो करतल माही. But then, while singing, he became so drawn to her sarup, to her beauty, that he came and then flew back into her hand again. Because, of course, the peacock is not going to fit on Priyaji's hand. So that's why he was not on there. But as soon as he gets the chance again, my sarup, my form is now suitable again. I must come back to Shipriyaji. He's so loyal to Shipriyaji. He's only Priyaji is his object of vision, his object of his heart's desires. And here, Priyaji herself becomes so inspired by the singing of this parrot that Madhura Madhura Kalagavahi Priya ke surna milai Riji bala ugal de Ananda urana samai. That she also starts to sing very sweetly along with the bird. And the bird then starts, Sham Sundar as the parrot, starts to match whatever rags, melodies, and different ornamentations of singing that Shipriyaji is performing, and becoming so pleased with this bird, this Sham Sundar bird, she then gives her Adaramrit, the nectar from her lips, directly to the bird. And this bird is none other than her Pran Pritam, the love of her life, her life force, Sham Sundar. And so she gives him that which he always desires and that which gives him enlivenment, gives him life. She gives him the nectar of her kiss, giving him a prize or like a gift or an award for such sweet singing.
That's called Adaramrita.
Yeah, Adaramrit. So Adar.
Also, it's Pelambrita. Also, it's called Pelambrita.
Palamrita.
Pelambrita. Yeah.
I don't know that word. You're gonna have to tell me that.
I show you later.
Okay.
I thought I read it in Govinda Lilamrita with
Acha.
Gadadhar Panda's commentary.
Acha, acha,
Yeah.
acha. We have to. Yeah, you can show me. Generally, the kiss or the nectar of like this is called Adar Amrit. Generally, because Adar means the
Okay.
lips, and Amrit is the nectar or the ambrosia. But you can show me.
This is used when Sri Priyayi takes the prasadi of Krishna. This is the Pelamrita or Adaramrita.
Oh, Pan
The
Amrit. Pan Amrit.
pan? Oh, okay.
Oh,
Maybe
maybe
it's
you can show
wrong
me.
title.
Yeah, you can show me, and
Okay,
we'll
okay.
see. Yeah, yeah, we see that. After this, you can send me.
So, so,
And then the next moment, the bird decides to make Sham Sundar into a Kanjan Bakshi, a Kanjan bird. So the Kanjan bird is called, in English they call it a wagtail. And the wagtail is very famous for always just darting around everywhere. It's extremely restless, extremely unsteady. And many times, Kishoriji's eyes are described as being Kanjan. Shiyat Harivansh Mahaprabhuji in his Churasi says, Kanjana meena mrigaj madame tat kaha kaho नैनन की बातें खंजन मीन मृगज मद में तत. But Priyaji's eyes are like, he gives different comparisons. He says her eyes are like a Kanjan bird because they're so lively and restless. And he says Kanjan mean, but even more so, just to emphasize the point, he says they're also like a fish, graceful and also moving so much. Mean, mrigaja, and then he says mrigaja. Mrigaja, mrig means deer, but mrigaja means the baby deer. It's the which they call the fawn. So her eyes are also large, like the baby deer, but very innocent as well. If you see the eyes of a baby deer, very beautiful. So Kishoriji's eyes are like this, but in other places he says even this is like and the Rasik say even this is like useless comparisons when comparing Kishoriji's eyes, and many times they use this against her. So when they think that she is in man, that she's angry, very important here, when they think she is angry with Shamsundar and she's not going to meet him, then they say to her, Chapala Bala Mriganani, but you are the one who has such innocent eyes like the eyes of a baby deer, yet you are not behaving innocently with your beloved. You are not going to meet him. So they use these, it's like they're using words of slightly mockery, slight sarcasm to Priyaji, and they're saying, "But oh, you're so good, you're so sweet, and so many good qualities, but you're not doing as you should do." So many times, Hitsaki especially has very special eligibility, special rights, special adhikar to speak to Kishoriji like this because she is basically they're like two bodies and one pran, one life force in two bodies. So she also very much speaks to her, sometimes even like Kishoriji is like a child that she is instructing, and then other times she takes the mood of a dasi as the maid servant. So Hitsaki is a very nuanced and complex relationship with Hitsaki, and it's actually very, very beautiful to try to understand. So in this way, so many different. We won't be able to go through all the Lila, because there's actually quite a lot, but she also makes. We'll just skip a little bit and go through a little bit. And for example, ha ha ha. Here's a very nice one. What she makes happen. So later on, one of the manifestations which the beautiful yellow mirror-like bird, the Maina bird, makes happen is Kaho bring tum savare aho avatu bring bring navarang piya gunjat prema prasang. She says, now you should become a bee, a black bee, and you should sing, you should buzz, because the bees don't sing, they buzz, buzz. But in that buzzing, you should sing the stories, the Leelas of Prem Prasang. And then what happens here is, Pyari ke mukh kamal ko manjala saurabh sar, so saurabh ke pan hit ayo Ali Gunjar. So Pyari Ju, she already has lotus face. And imagine the saurabh, the sweet smell, the fragrance emanating from her face. And so the bumblebee, naturally the other bumblebees of Vrindavan chase her around so much. Actually, there's a Lila in this hit Ananya Aliji's Vani, which is called Saurabh Vilas Lila. It just means the playful nature of fragrance. So even there's a whole Leela just based on the fragrances of Sri Vrindavan Dham. And in there, for example, there were so much groups of bees following Shri Radha throughout the whole of Vrindavan. And she becomes sometimes scared of them. And then the Sakhis have to get the fans, the yak tail fans, the chamara, and they have to whisk them away or cause them, shoo them away. But many times they fail even. And then actually the Kishoriji has to get the help of birds at that time too. There's some birds that appear to help Priyaji save her from the bees at the time that she was scared of. The birds, Hitananya Aliji Maharaj describes that the birds, they're like gemstones. Their whole the feathers are soft, but yet it looks as like their feathers are effulgent like gemstones. So what happens is the bees, chasing the fragrance of Shipriyaji's form, of her face and all her limbs, they are following her. The Sakhis are successful at one time, but they fail in another time. So that's when the birds, which we also explained have Sakhi Bhav, which we mentioned a few satsangs before, they decide we'll also help her. So then they flap their wings so much, and then the bees go flying away.
Yeah.
So like this. So Priyaji, it'll be another 5 minutes or so. So Priyaji is running like this, and so in the Leela, so in this Leela now, so if the ordinary bees, nothing's ordinary Vrindavan, but I mean the bees that are not Sham Sundar, the other associates are chasing her so much. Imagine how much more Sham Sundar himself, as taking up the form of the bee, would be chasing Shri Radha. So then he says that seeing or smelling the aroma of Shipriyaji's face, Pyari ke mukh kamal ko manjula sorbasar, hit ayo Ali Gunjar. That Sham Sundar as the bee comes directly to her face, buzzing and buzzing. And then, even though she knows this is my Sham Sundar, the illusion is so powerful that this is really a bee. That Gori Bori Darapatab Vanshi Sola Pataye Anga Anga Chapa Anga Anga Chaka Chapalavaye Socha Vikehi Na Jai. But Shri Radha, because she was also Bori, which we described in the previous thing, that she's very innocent, she still becomes very scared by these bees coming straight for my face, and so she quickly, Vanshi Sakhi is always near her, Harivanshi Sakhi is always near, so she quickly embraces her to save me from this bee. And her eyes and her whole body becomes very restless. She's trying to shake this bee away from her. And Hit Anani Aliji Maharaj says, but when I saw this, I cannot describe how beautiful Priyaji looked when she was scared and holding on to Hitsaki like this. And then, this is Sham Sundar we're speaking about. So we must understand what will he do next. So, कुछ कमलन पर भृंग जब गुंजत गुंजन आए रही लपटी हित सखी उर अंगन अंग समाए मनो छबीली दामिनी दुरी छवि दामिनी माही चपलत चमकत गौरतन कहत बनत कछुनाई. So then, Sham Sundar, even if you see in Hijrasi, where is his favorite place to reside? So many times it says different places it says to reside. Sometimes in the lotus feet, also in the navel, which is Kishoriji's deep navel, like a whirlpool of ras. But it also says in Kishoriji's bosom, in her chest.
Yes.
And so this bee, thinking, oh, I couldn't get the lotus face, so then I will go to the lotus chest of Priyaji. And so because she's protecting her face, so then and she's holding Hitsaki, and then she makes sure that he can't also come towards her chest, and then she embraces Hitsaki even more, chest to chest, to protect herself. And then seeing this, Hit Anani Aliji Maharaj says, normally when he sees the embrace, and also Hit Harivanshji Maharaj and others, they describe that Shama Sham's embrace looks like a dark blue fresh rain cloud with embracing a golden lightning rod, a golden lightning strike. So that's usually the scene, the sort of the symbolism, that they're looking like a great dark blue fresh rain cloud ready to burst, and the lightning strike. This is how Shama Sham are appearing together. But this time he says it's like two lightning strikes are together, because it's his Sajani and Kishoriji together. And yeah, and he just says this is something which I just cannot describe, how much beauty there is in this whole scene. And so this Leela goes on for quite a while, but it hit Ananya Aliji Maharaj says something quite amazing at the end of this Leela. He says how when I saw this vision, I was in Ras Avesh, which means that he was completely taken away by the experience of Ras, so absorbed, like a rasic madman, completely ecstatic with bliss, and not being able to think straight, to be able to function in normal society. That he said for 15 days, Pandra din lo rayo ati yako ras avesh bolat nahi chin ekhu sumran yehe sudesh. And he said, I just couldn't forget this scene completely. He couldn't think of anything else and see anything else in his mind for 15 days continuously. It was such a powerful experience that he had no other experience at that time. Forget sleeping or normal waking or anything else. He was just completely absorbed like this. And this is nothing surprising for the Rasiks, because Hidrodasi Maharaj explains in his Siddhanta Vichar Lila, which is Siddhanta Vichar means the deliberation or an explanation on the conclusions, on the philosophical conclusions. He explains what is a Rasik. He says, truly a Rasik is someone who has only taste or interest in Shama Sham's Prem, in Shama Sham's Leelas, and their mind does not go anywhere for even one moment. And Gurudev explains, Hit Premanandji Maharaj Gurudev explains that actually wherever the mind goes, this is where the Rasik experience Shama Sham. So even if we see their mind in the external going somewhere, actually wherever it's going, they're only seeing Shama Sham, they're only seeing Priya Pritam. So he says, if their mind, and then Dhruv makes another condition, but if their mind goes somewhere else, then I can't say they're Rasik to that level, like a true Rasik, you know? They might be a Rasik in the making, but they're not truly Rasik. So this is the conclusion of the bird Lila portion of the satsang of Shri Shringar Sabha Mandal, and taking refuge of also Hit Ananya Aliji Maharaj's Bani. So,
Yeah.
Jai Jai Shri Harivansh.
Jai Jai Shri Harivan.
So, does anyone have any questions or about the Leela, and then any other questions also after that, if you like?
Well, I captivated a lot in that embrace with Hitchaki and Sri Priyaji.
Yeah,
The vibe of Sri Priyaji when she embraced Hisayani, because she was scared of the bee, of Shambi, and that excitement, right? The excitement when she took Hisayani Ju.
yeah,
Thanks so much. Very beautiful, Lila. Thanks so much.
yeah. I mean, thank Ananya Aliji Maharaj that we can
Yeah,
read his
yeah,
Vanis. My favorite Rasik so far. The Vanis are so exciting, and even I'm just skimming over them. If I go into the details of each song, we would be here for so long, and because it's so subtle, the things he's describing. When I translate them, you'll see in the translations how much more there is depth to this, and that's why even one line you can meditate for hours and hours. You know, it goes
yeah.
so deep. But as this, we're giving a general presentation, but really, it's something else. This Vani, is something else.
Yes, yes. Every word.
Yeah, really something.
Yeah.
Rasarup. Okay. I know, Mihail, you had another question. Do you want to address that question now? The general question you had, if you messaged me.
Yes, I think that we can discuss it now, but then maybe not to get people bored, so we can then in Telegram or in
Yeah.
WhatsApp
In more detail.
discuss more in more detail. In more detail, yes.
Yeah, no worries. We actually also have like a Q&A session sometimes. Normally we do the questions then, but I wanted to also help, because you asked me, so I thought we can quickly discuss here. Mihail G was just asking that in regards to like near-death experiences, where a lot of people describe that they experience something like unconditional love. This is a thing I've come across because I've actually studied a lot of near-death experiences and so on. And so he was saying that is the unconditional love experienced by many people who undergo such experiences like this near-death experience, is it the same state as the divine love hit, which devotees of Radha view as the basis of reality? Now, what I'd say is it's definitely not the fully blown, the fully mature hit, the fully mature divine love that the Vanis, that the Acharyas describe, because that type of prem, as we've just been describing in this Leela, it's a taste that does not leave one. So not only is it once tasted, never forgotten, but it's never also absent from one's heart. So this completely overwhelms one's being, and one actually becomes Hita Sarup. Then at that time, one's whole being becomes completely energized while they're still embodied. So while you're still in the embodied state, your whole being becomes energized. Just like you can give the example, an iron metal rod is generally cold and solid, but if you put it in fire, it takes up the qualities of light, heat, and warmth. So it becomes completely energized by a foreign substance. So similarly, the body of the Rasik and the mind and so on, it also becomes completely um, imbued with these qualities. And then what to speak when they're actually situated in their Sakhi Roop, the Sehajari Roop, because that's completely made from internally, externally, top to bottom in complete ras. And I know that by Shihid Harivansh Mahaprabhuji's Kripa, and we will also experience that. We will get there too. That will all be Sakhi Sarup and Ras Sarup. But this is definitely not that state, because that is also when they leave that state, the near-death experience, it lingers for some time, but the experience will also become weaker with time, and also it's just not the same thing. But in a general sense, you can say that it is hit also, because actually the conception of the Radha Vallabh Sampradaya, it's quite a simple one, because with us we don't go too much into Vedant, because Vedant philosophy can also become very dry, and it can become a very much an obstacle if it's pondered and contemplated too much. That this hit, this prem, it's all pervading, but it finds its highest expression in the Nikunj Lila, the Nitya Vihar of Shama Sham, and then it finds its lowest expression in selfish acts of living beings when they only act for themselves. So this is where they only have prem, love for themselves. So this is the most lowest form of hit, of love, but it's love for themselves. So it takes on a different definition. It really just becomes like lust and greed and own self-care, or even to the self of not self-care, but self-care is a positive term, but it's more so like even at the expense of another, even by hurting someone else, they will care. They will only try to benefit themselves. So this is just love for their own selves, which is a very ignorant form of this. So in one way, everything in reality is an expression of hit to various degrees until you get to the highest level. So I hope that is a hopefully it's a good answer in general, but we can discuss this in more detail, of course.
Thank you.
Okay. Tika Bhai, you want to say anything? Amanda, or everything is good?
Yes, I loved hearing this word Lila. It's really astonishing.
Yeah.
And you know it's like a really nice example to see how these Leelas can be like, because my friend, she said, yeah, but then if there are, if there's no rivalry and all the places are limited, then it's getting
No,
quite boring quite quickly. And I said, no, 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 no,
no.
it's ever fresh. And this is just like an example how it can be ever astonishing, ever fresh, and like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just
Yeah,
so wonderful.
I mean, even in the Vanis it says that when Shama Sham see Vrindavan itself, they become astonished just by Vrindavan itself, and then they become astonished at their own feelings. They become astonished at the different associates and so on. And also, this idea of something being something spiritual, completely spiritual, becoming boring is actually a lack of understanding of Vedanta and philosophy, actually. So these type of things are important to understand from the Bhagavatam and the Vedanta, because even though we don't want this, but even the impersonal Brahman, the actual experience of oneness, even that never becomes boring for those who are absorbed, because it is spiritual bliss. So what to speak of personal mukti or personal ananda? So people who speak like this are just, they don't really understand too much the workings of what is prem, what is ananda, what is chit, what is spirit, what is spiritual life. So yeah, but yeah, it's I agree. These things are very astonishing. These leelas.
I have a question, if it's possible,
Yeah.
in terms of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is a question about time, about the perception of time in this Lila. I think that in this Lila, the time is linear, like in our material world. But I suppose that the experience was that there was a different experience of time in this experience, a different perception of time. But it cannot be described. Am I correct or not?
Yeah, when it comes to, especially when it comes to Shama Sham, Radha Krishna's Leelas, there is, obviously everything is eternal and beyond time. But the thing is, because they are performing what's called Lokavata Leela or Naravata Leela, which means human-like pastimes, or because this increases the sweetness. Because if you see in Vaikunt, where Bhagwan has so much what we call Aishwarya, so much godhood and majesty and opulence and power, then you see a different way the Leela actually expresses itself. These plays express themselves. But within Vrindavan, within Vraj, within the Nikunj, they express themselves in a certain way and they appear in a certain way, but actually all this is still beyond time, and these are manifesting eternally, like each moment of the Leela. One Jiva Goswami of the Gauri Sampradaya explains how all these Leelas, each moment of the Leela, is actually occurring simultaneously, eternally. And he has a very long explanation for this, which we won't go into now, but I will actually share a few articles with you how time sort of operates there as well. Maybe Deeminji, you wanted to say something?
Each Lila it's a prakash itself, is a reality itself, an eternal reality itself. And also in Vrindavan, we have to know that time or weather or time and space, they are all serving to Sri Shamashan's happiness.
Yeah.
So when they are in a Lila, time can contract or expand. But it's all because what is the need of Sri Shamashan? If they want to keep a Lila because they are enjoying too much, it's like the time never passed.
Yeah, that's true. It literally stops. Time actually serves Shama Sham, and it actually, there are so many Leelas where it stops. For example, even when they're just glancing into each other's eyes, it's I can't even think of a number that exists, to be honest. It's like trillions and trillions and trillions of normal time on here in this earth would pass, and they're still just looking into each other's eyes. But even that comparison is not correct, because we're then comparing it with material time, which is also
it's not linear. It's not a linear time.
Nor is it circular. It's none of those. It's none of those.
So it is indescribable and or it is partially describable only.
Maybe you can indicate towards it, but really, by experience alone, there's actually quite a few things on this path that I realized that I understood only through meditation, and when you start speaking them, then it's like very difficult. Actually, you actually could go crazy trying to understand it intellectually. Some of the things.
Well, in Gaudiya, you have the Astakala Lila. And it's like all the time space of the day of Sri Shamasham, and you, by meditating in that, you have a mental frame to put the Lila in something that you can really meditate, because this is something beyond imagination. We can even grasp it. It's just by mercy. This is revelation. This is spurti.
The divisions of time throughout the 24 hours are just like they're just a framework for us who are living in this time to follow a sequence throughout the day of seva, But actually, it's not that. Gurudev is very strong with that. He says it's just a framework, so we're always doing some service throughout the day. But this Leela's taking place at this time, finishing this time. But he says that none of that exists in the actual experience.
Yeah.
The time limits and so on. So yeah.
Actually, we have different times. When you are putting your Sri Shamashan to sleep,
even
I'm
here,
waking up.
Exactly, even that. So, so it's not possible,
Yeah.
It's not possible. So we'll end it now because it's actually we're quite over time. But we'll have another question and answer session probably soon, and then we can answer a lot more questions then as well. I'll message about that in the group shortly. Well, in a few days.
Jai Sri Harivans, thank you so much to all.
Radhe Shyam.
Radhe Shyam.
Thank
Sri
you.
Gurudev.
Have a good evening or good afternoon wherever you are in the world. Radhe Shyam.
Thank you. Same for you. Bye.
See you.
Sri Harivans.
Sri Harivans.